everyone, and welcome to another episode of Around the Corner podcast series where we'll discuss the latest scientific trends and technological advances and what is around the corner and what is about to come in the world of advanced materials. Today with us, I have one of my strategy buddies and a good friend, Dr. Carlo Iorio, a senior researcher at Université Libre de Bruxelles and also CEO of Your Science VC. Carlo, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
Hi, Zina. It's true that we are really good friends now.
That is true. We're strategy buddies.
We are working together 1 month, one day after the other. And yes, thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you, and also because we are so visionary in this moment is always
Gosh, okay,
nice
yeah, let's give ourselves a pat on the back. We're visionaries. Carlo, it's always a great pleasure speaking with you. But tell us, and I'm actually curious myself, who are you, Carlo? What brought you here? What's made Carlo Carlo?
Wow. So basically, you summarized what I am, in the sense that I am a researcher at the Université Libre de Bruxelles. So you can pronounce very well in French. And also I am a CEO of Your Science VC. So it's two different approaches that actually I like a lot, because as you know, the world of research at university and academia is quite different when you compare to businesses. So the kind of problem, the kind of approach are very different, but at the same time are complementary. So for me, it's a good experience to have the vision on the two sides of the desk. So what I'm doing at, as you possibly know, at University of Brussels, I mean, the core business is essentially application in space. Although recently, and this is also why I'm involved in some COVID-related activities, even in space, we are studying the building of the health ecosystem in space. You know, in space, you can study a lot of things about health, what is happening on ground. For example, aging is a typical research that is work on ground and can be studied in space. And so basically, this allows me to have this approach also to biomedical problems. And during the COVID, essentially, I was involved in doing research about some aspect of the COVID at university, more, for example, for what concerned the material science, and with my company that is, we can say, not strictly related to experimentation on material, but where we developed a lot artificial intelligence. But as you possibly know, in this new paradigm of what is called the 4.0, everything is in science. So you have a sensor, you have materials, you have everything, but also artificial intelligence that is a bit like salt and pepper in everything in the last decade.
These days, huh? And you're the space guy, you're the graphene guy, and you're an entrepreneur. What else are you? And you are the lead of our strategy committee and business development committee at AMPT, right?
Yeah.
So
this is the first and foremost. I am exactly.
You wear way too many hats.
I am really proud. Not only, of course, the leadership is something not important in our vision, but what I am proud of is that now maybe it's 4 months, 6 months, 5 months,
yeah,
that we are working hard on understanding what is going on in the world. You know, Zina, I really think that AMPT, but the work that we are doing with a lot from universities to companies to also associations and also to a single person that we are meeting all together singularly. So I think that the real added value is that we are interpreting what is the real lesson that possibly this COVID crisis will has given to us in this period. So, you know, I am persuaded, and you know that now we are speaking about preparedness, future preparedness. So I am really persuaded that COVID is we can say, a paradigm for what mankind will be faced in the future, maybe in different kind of aspect. This time has been biomedical. I don't want to be the space bad guy. Maybe another time it can be a meteorite, another time it can be. But what is the feeling of COVID is that in some way mankind is all together. It's not a problem of the United States, it's not a problem of Europe, it's not, sorry to say, a war that often is localized. So we are used in these last 20 years, war in the Middle East, war in Africa, this kind of conflicts. But at the end of the day, for sad that they can be, there were only geographically localized problems that when you are far from them are very painful for the people that have been involved. Like in Syria, it has been a tragedy. But when you are far, you always have the attitude to think, oh, okay, it's a problem, it's somewhere, it's not in my backyard, and so on and so forth. So the real lesson and what we are developing with you and with the group of the AMPT, what I like the most, is that this is really the global challenge. It is the mankind faced to a problem of the kind that we should face in the future altogether.
And I agree. And even from the very start of this, you and I connected, 4 or 5 months ago at the peak of COVID. We were connecting because we're looking around us and we're saying what we have right now is not sufficient. As people in the advanced material, two-dimensional material, and nanomaterial community, our response was so abysmal and lacking. We didn't know how to come together. We're all in silos and isolation, and we said, but where is the strategy? Where is the international coordination that is not based on one country's agenda, or one company, or one organization, or one research institute publishing papers? So you and I really connected on that. What do you think, besides what COVID taught us, what do you think is going to be the next level of collaboration beyond what we are doing right now? Something that maybe this AMPT, the task force, can be an example of, or that we can kind of create a base of for future.
Exactly. So we have talked about the model of the WHO, you know. So in general, we have to think that technology in itself, so we are in the community of advanced material, and whoever is in this community knows that there is a lot of technology, even wonderful technology, even really some sort of solutions that make you, leave you breathless. But still, you really, when you look at this, you understand that the solution cannot come from a single technology,
correct,
even a bunch of technology. So I think that the model that will be developed, and the AMPT, I think, is targeting to develop, is to create a framework that can be, that's why we love to say is also is a task force. Yes. So a framework that can be prepared by developing some sort of action protocol. So whatever is the crisis, what we want to elaborate is what we have to do, what we should put together immediately if a crisis, especially a global crisis, is going around, how we should approach at the same time the governmental level, the technological level, the industry level, which are the bridges between these different sectors, because we are experienced, and it's not so easy just in one second to connect with a governmental agency, because all these kind of layers, they have their own mechanism, have their own limits, have their own constraints. And so in some way, AMPT as a global movement wants to create this kind of bridges. It's like when you are in the army and you should have a ready bridge just to pass on the other side of the river, whatever is the river and wherever you are. So basically, I think that the model that we should aspire for AMPT is to elaborate these bridges between community, so that can be as much as possible universal, we can say, while keeping this ready to action level. And so wherever there is a problem between, for example, company association and governmental level, there is immediately some sort of protocol of action, of rationale that we have already developed, and so we can link and solve the problem.
I agree. And I think that one of the things that we saw is that in a lot of our communities, a lot of the people, stakeholders, they think their job is done at this level. Meanwhile, if we really think about it as a scientist, as somebody who is involved, our end goal is impact, right? So as a scientist and a researcher, your job is not done because you published something. I mean, I understand the context of, okay, academia, this and that. But to be honest, with something like this on the hand where people are dying, is our job done when we just published a paper? No. Yeah. We have to make an impact. And for that impact, you have to connect your paper, your research to something else that allows that to go far for another company to come and take that. And at the end of the day, we want solutions to solve humanity's challenges and problems. And I feel like that is what's missing, and that's what brought the two of us together was this concept.
And also looking at the painting on your back that is with some sort of black spot, but then there are some sort of sun rays, yellow and some red, some color coming. I love to say that basically this is an opportunity not only to solve the problem, so the immediate problem. So in a sense, you have a crisis and then you have to give some emergency solution. But also, the COVID crisis has basically erased a lot of our, mythology, our certitudes. The fact that we thought that the world would be always the way we were living in, And so, we already, had the opportunity to speak about. To me, the COVID is like you have just put a layer of black on what was before, because now you should get out the mask, you should have some sort of attention when you touch things, when you go around the people that you are, even the personal relationship are changing. So basically, we have a challenge, but we have also an opportunity, because we have, again, some sort of black or white boards on which we can put our own color. So when we build this new world, when we develop a technology, in some way, this is also the role that I attribute to association like AMPT, and that's why I am proud of. In some way, we are putting also our, our color, the nuances that we want for the world of the future. And this is also an opportunity. It's not only solving a problem because we have an emergency, people are dying, but it's also to shape the future and to shape the world of tomorrow. So also, I am happy that in the AMPT we have a lot of young people. Actually, I am one of the older. Shame on me, but still.
You are not. We have a lot of old people in AMP, but also a lot of young people, which is a good mix, right? You're amongst the young people here.
They can add, for example, the connection between materials, and that materials are used a lot also for sensing, for stuff, and the digital world. I don't want to say that I am too old, but still I am not what is called a native digital. It's not people that since they were a child, they use whatever. And so this is also a question of mentality, it's a question of how you are inside something. So, and having young people that comes and have just grown in the digital world and can help also to make all the sensing, where is the material science essentially moving around, a quantum leap forward, because it's not only to assemble a sensor giving some intelligence. With this you can, just in the medicine, you can create a telemedicine tool, you can solve the problem of rural areas. In some way you are contributing to the cooperation for development, because underdeveloped country needs telemedicine, needs this kind of tool. So you see, is really the way I see AMPT, starting from something and put all together the piece of the puzzle, and not only the technology is growing, but also the people that are affected by this decision that comes from United States. Then, maybe we can use this in Latin America. In India, this can be done because there is a good internet connection, and in Africa, and so on. And so this is what I call global.
I really like that vision. I think that is a new vision that is needed. And you and I talk a lot about WHO, you talk about World Economic Forum, these entities that are international and they have a different and separate function than just the interest of one discipline, one region, geographical region, or one company's benefit. And we really want to create something like that around this for advanced materials, because our community can respond. But you're a graphene guy, you're a space and graphene guy. Tell us, where do you see the benefits of graphene in this broader concept of future preparedness, but also under the context of COVID? And I know you've done some work, so tell us about that.
Yeah, basically, graphene, we don't know if it's the last 2D element or the last element, but for the moment is still keeping the role of a wonder material, of champion of the material community. The advantage of graphene is that it's really versatile. You know better than me that graphene allow for a lot of functionalization. So it allows to attach on the base structure. Is not only important for its properties, but also because it allows to attach a lot of different other elements that can go from functional groups to protein to antiviral drugs and so on and so forth. So for what I can see, graphene can be used both as a vector for drug delivery, whatever is the morbidity, including the one that are generated as a consequence of the COVID infection, but especially can be used for, and we have used in one of our projects that we are developing with the Cambridge Graphene Center, for example, for doing some layers, some coating in the mask protection, and this coating can be functionalized in also to be active to the viral infection. In some way, they can tell you when the viral infection will happen. So it can be used both as a sensor element, but also as some sort of preventing element, and as a matter of fact, also as a vector for a lot of these drugs that we are developing, or for example, as a site for protein attachment that can influence the cells and the functionality of some organs. So in biomedical application, I do not, think about only all the sensors that you can generate. You have a pH, you have a blood, you have sugar for glycemia, and so on and so forth. So you can do a lot of things. But again, I think that what even in the graphene community, and speaking with the member of the graphene community, there is in all of them, the feeling that the technology should be embedded on something more. It's not only the sensor, but it's the sensor in the masks that can be read by a cellular phone and maybe give results to a medical doctor. So, this is in the evolution also of the graphene community to go towards the full pipeline up to what is called the end user. So it's not only the graphene in itself, but the graphene is the baseline to build, is the building block. It's like a Lego. You put together all these blocks of graphene, and at the end of the day, you come out with something that has an impact.
Yeah, and thinking about, okay, I made this sensor and it's the best thing in the world. If the software is not developed, if it is not embedded with whatever the functional vehicle for it is, if there is not enough support for even the intellectual property landscape for transferring that intellectual, all of these different components are what makes something come to the market and make an impact. So for us just to look at one component and one little piece of it and say, I did it, that doesn't mean by any means that it is going to actually make an impact, because it could sit on that shelf, it could be a paper, it could be a prototype that never ever sees the light of the day.
And unfortunately, the history of many of the revolution, I'm not speaking only about the graphene, but some other, in the field of material science, before graphene, there was the era of the nanofluids. You remember nanofluids? Yes. People were speaking about nanofluids all the time. Everything can be done. But then to avoid, this is not, what you said before, it is not a criticism on itself of the technology or the science, but it's a more, a way basically to give the science and technology the role that they have always had in history. So basically, the history of science and technology has always been the history of getting the people better. So if you look at the history of science and technology, all the problems that has been faced by science and technology were devoted to and were aimed at get people better in all the domain, in all the fields. To try to have less, work to do in terms of manpower. And so this is what I think we should think about without having any mythology about thinking, but if you are not doing a pure science, it's, the message is lost. Actually, it's exactly the opposite. If you are doing a pure science, your paper will be forgotten. While Absolutely. If your paper will be transformed in something, then you will live forever.
And we say, what good is science if it does not help solve a problem of humanity? I mean, why are we doing it, really, if it's not intended for that purpose? So I really do enjoy kind of going back and forth on these ideas with you, and that's probably why we talk so much all the time.
Yes.
Besides
everything. To do so.
But I also, before I let you go, actually, Carlo, which we're going to dive into our next conversation after we're done with this podcast, I want to know, you tell me once in a while that you cook. You cook for your mom as well. What are you cooking tonight?
So normally today I'm just a bit classical, so just some salad and a steak.
Come on, you're Italian. You're making a salad.
Okay, I will add. By chance I have some sort of graphene oxide solution. Maybe I can try to pepper a bit with graphene oxide.
Gosh, don't do that. I freaked out. Do not do that. Graphene oxide.
No, just steak and salad because, I was late today and so no fancy cooking. Normally this is for the weekend.
What a lost opportunity. You are the Italian guy who cooks and I catch you on a day that you're eating a salad. Damn it.
Italian kitchen is not so easy. I mean, it's not something if you want to do pasta, for example. I am very good at doing handmade pasta.
You make your own pasta?
Yeah, I can do it by myself. So really, without any machines, I can cut by myself, whatever. But the point is that, when you go back at 8:30 from university or so on, it's difficult to do this in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So you should have, especially when you are alone at home and you have a podcast to record. It's very difficult.
Now it's my fault that you are eating salad. Salad is good for you, so.
Of course.
Well, Carlo, it's always a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you around.
And, see you very soon, of course, online.
After this podcast, we're still talking.
Thanks.
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you.
Bye.